Hello, everyone. My name is Chen.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our presentation. My name is Enrica Piccardo.
Today, we are very happy to present on the topic, Journeys of Self-Rediscovery, Exploring Prolingualism through Autoethnographies. This talk is based on the new book, as you see, with the picture on the cover. And we have our outlines here for today's talk, including the background, the rationale, the methodology, our findings, conclusions, and if you have any questions or comments, you are more than welcome to contact us. So a little bit background. In the state-of-the-art literature in the field of plurilingualism, recent research has focused on several areas, and these include the dynamic nature of the emergence of language in developing plurilingual repertoire, the centrality of openness and curiosity about languages and cultures with techniques to make languages visible, and the mediational nature of plurilingualism, as well as the need for socially engaged pedagogy to promote social justice. However, learners' lived experiences have been exclusively reported by researchers and practitioners rather than by learners themselves. So this project aims to fill a double gap in the literature by casting light on key tenets of plurilingualism in relation to individual language trajectories on the one hand, and by overcoming the dearth of studies, focusing on individual narratives and autoethnographies on the other. The research question we ask is, what are the lived experiences of the graduate students as plurilingual individuals on their journeys of self-rediscovery across different trajectories and contexts? So a quick word about our methodology. We used autoethnography, and the synergy between autoethnography and the plurilingualism theories fostered a deeper, more dynamic, and a critical reflection. In other words, autoethnography gives life to the concepts of plurilingualism as embodied in the individual's shift of attitudes to and awareness of their language and cultures through first-hand narratives of their lived experiences. It is through hearing the voices of people that we flesh out the tenets of plurilingualism and show its transformational impact on learner identities. Our data, the project draws on 26 plurilingual autoethnographies written by graduate students in a graduate course at OISE, which is called Multilingualism and Plurilingualism, taught by Enrica between the year 2019 and 2023. The role of the students, we consider the student authors as researchers of their own lived experiences, as well as the change agents in their communities. And following qualitative content analysis, we arrived at 5 interconnected themes that emerged from the rich narratives of the students. This word cloud showing here, it was generated to provide a glimpse of the diversity of the languages and the varieties that the student authors brings together in the book. I'll pause here to briefly give you a moment to see the rich array of languages in their language repertoire. Okay, so the findings, the 5 themes that emerged from the narratives are exploring and embracing plurilingual and pluricultural identities, situatedness, ownership, agency, and empowerment, followed by complexity, and finally, rethinking language teaching and learning from a pluralistic perspectives. Our first theme, is exploring and embracing plurilingual, pluricultural identities. This theme is salient in so many accounts of becoming plurilingual. Names serve as identifiers and can carry significant cultural, familial, or personal meaning. However, they often elicit racial, cultural, and religious assumptions and misconceptions as well. They can be used or even weaponized against the individuals, resulting in othering or exclusion. Identity crises are often reported and associated with multilingual, multicultural immigrant background. There are commonly experienced feelings of insecurity, ambivalence, and even shame in relation to linguistic and cultural heritage. And the journey of coming to terms with selves and engaging in the healing process involves a profound exploration of the affective dimension of one's identities in relation to their languages and cultures. And in the process, heritage language plays a significant role, especially in intergenerational communication and in discovering or rediscovering the ethnic or linguistic plurality in one's ancestry. Focusing on the interconnections between language, culture, and identity, individuals are better positioned to cross and fuse the arbitrary borders of cultures and identities, and embrace or construct more fluid, more multifaceted selves in their plurilingual becoming. We can hear the author voices in so many reflections. For instance, Han in chapter 6 admits that growing up as a Chinese Canadian was not necessarily easy for me, as I felt like I always had to choose a side. I was either Canadian or Chinese. For another example, Aguilera reminds us that there is no single answer that can encapsulate the multiplicity and the hybridity of a plurilingual, pluricultural self, who simply cannot put intercultural identity into one box. Okay. Now we come to the situatedness dimension. Yeah. The contextual dimension at the micro level, which is households, meso level, communities, or macro level, societies. These dimensions emerge as a theme of reflection. The feeling of being trapped in a form of monolingual bilingualism emerges. Mandarin feels that while seeking bilingualism, in reality, she had moved from one monolingual space to another. Kozlovsky, in chapter 11, critiqued the misconception of separation of languages that still so deeply characterizes Canadian bilingualism. But there's also acknowledgement that things are moving in this respect, although slowly and with some resistance. The historical dimension highlights the dynamic nature of individual repertoires and the trajectories. Familiarity with the theory of plurilingualism contributes to positive attitudes to diversity and the multifaceted plurilingual self.
Okay. And then there is the big question, the question of who's English, like the question of ownership, agency, and empowerment. Throughout the book, through the when one reads the autoethnographies, one really can hear a multitude of questions. Do I own this language? Whose English is that? Am I a legitimate speaker? And in a sense, what is a legitimate speaker? And will I ever be one legitimate speaker? And can I claim English as a non-native speaker? These questions really resonate across, transversally across the different chapters and are very, very deep, profound questions for the contributors, the researchers. In fact, they oblige us, the readers, to really confront a deep-seated stereotypical view. Like what are the implications of moving away from the native speaker episteme that we're so used to, and to address the issue of authenticity and legitimacy of heritage language speakers? This is, for example, Schmore in chapter 1 reflects a lot about this point. They also oblige us to see the limit of the question itself, as I said, whether one is a legitimate speaker or not. And do we come to think, does this question really even make sense or not? And we realize through the different reflections and answers that the question itself may be an invented one, and referring to an invented construct. It typically, as that appears in plurilingualism, the concept of affordance is core. Affordances play, in fact, a pivotal role in plurilingualism. What are affordances and how are they understood? They are possibilities of action, possibilities which need to be perceived and acted upon by individuals in order for their potential to become reality, to be realized. So together with plurilingualism comes this development of awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of our own linguistic and cultural repertoire, of the mechanism that govern the different languages, the language varieties, the various lacts, sociolacts, ideolacts, the etymologies, the lexical borrowings, registers and functions, and the individual capacity to perceive affordances and act upon them increases with this awareness. The fourth theme was complexity. Well, plurilingualism foregrounds complexity as the characteristic of reality of all human experience, complexity and the dynamic, transforming and transformative reality of human experiences. So by embracing complexity, automatically we deconstruct the binary and we abandon a linear view that is typical, still very typical, and we embrace another one, a complex one precisely, which is powerful, even if sometimes it can be painful, but it's a powerful and liberating process. And we have one quote here that really resonates with this. Manogaram says, when I'm asked what my first language is, people do not realize what a deep question they've asked and how that poses several problems for me. Having two first languages gives one a sense of belonging to both sides without feeling the need to abandon either of them. So in a sense, you see, it's the opposite of this idea, I need to be either Canadian or Chinese, but it's a process. It's something that that comes with time, and because this person had two first languages, he felt of belonging to both sides. Linked to complexity, there is one characteristic of complexity theories is to insist on these aha moments, which are the moments where things fall into place. And these moments are powerful because they uncover the hidden realities and the mechanism underlying the different thoughts and aspects and experiences, and shift the perspectives. Most contributors highlight hybridity, movement, transformation, change, and foreground how they really feel part of a process of embedded system, in a sense of a series of embedded systems, we should probably say more. They are individual repertoires and trajectories, these systems, their own ideolects, languages, communities, and societies. All these systems are embedded into one another, and they belong to all of them. and they are all interconnected. And of course, this complexity requires new eyes, a new attitude, and the capacity and willingness of breaking barriers and coming out of the many different boxes into which societies tend always to categorize us. And our final theme was rethinking language teaching and learning from a pluralistic perspective. So if there is all these underlying complexity, the authors challenge really in the book, it's very clear, the monolingualism-oriented approach, especially in the English language only classes, when it's the teaching of ESL, for example, language only classes and policies. And this, they challenge the native speaker model. And of course, with it, all the beliefs and teaching approaches that go with that. So how do they do that? For example, they focus on the idea that there were missed opportunities to learn about different languages and cultures. This monolingual view, monolingual disposition impedes, prevents opportunities to learn about different languages and culture. Or it even goes so far to go to language loss of existing languages, which is said by other contributors. Enforcement of English-only policy is done often at the expense of students' comprehension of content, at the expense of their self-esteem and confidence, and overall at the expense of their language development. So exactly the opposite of the argument that is brought about when this monolingual disposition is included, is foregrounded. Language separation myth is also associated with an obsession with the idealized native accent or native-like command of the target language. And this is really highlighted in the branding and student recruitment by programs and institutions. So this was something also that emerged from the autoethnography, sometimes as a painful experience. Embarking on a plurilingual adventure, on the contrary, involves exploring various interconnected dimensions, exploring these dimensions of language learning in a holistic manner from the social, the cognitive, and the affective point of view. Social dimension. Some traditional teaching methods focus overly on achieving grammatical accuracy, building vocabulary, and do not provide sufficient opportunities for learners to use the language in social engagement and communication. So embarking in a plurilingual adventure means exploring the social use of language. Cognitive aspects, complex ways in which the plurilingual brain works and is something fascinating, and this can be leveraged. And the authors, in fact, report a variety of learning strategies and activities that they find effective, like intercomprehension, leverage applying on knowledge, multimodality, etc. And the affective dimension, which we should not forget, because emotions are deeply embodied in languages and yet are often dismissed or overlooked in the classroom as irrelevant or less important than teaching the language itself, the language as an object. And we would like to conclude with this interesting quote from Noel, who says, "I was once in my students' shoes, learning English as an L2, a period during which I rejected my ethno-linguistic roots and tried very hard to fit into the English-speaking world. I even later asked my students to forget their funds of linguistic knowledge and pursued an English-only classroom policy. Coming across the concept of plurilingualism in graduate school was the catalyst that led me to reconcile with my past and value my full linguistic repertoire. I now apply these insights in my teaching as I consciously try to integrate plurilingual approaches in my classroom, where and when possible." So our conclusion is that we are faced with two opposite perspectives, the linear, descriptive, and additive view of language and diversity, and on the contrary, the complex, reflective, and holistic one, which is sometimes chaotic and even cacophonic, but something that makes space for unpredictability and messiness of reality, but it's also for its beauty and richness. The transformative power of discovering the theory of plurilingualism emerged clearly and consistently, no matter what the students' background were. And reflection on plurilingualism is itself developing organically, expanding from theory to practice, from the field of language and cultures to that of identity, social justice, covering all the themes related also to inclusion and intersectionality. And we thank you for your attention. And to that, if you want to, thank you very much. You want to say something?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the talk. And if you have any questions or comments, you are more than welcome to contact us.
Perfect. Stop recording.